Good shot. Oh, bless you. Thank you. Oh. All right. I'm going to cry, so I'm going to put that out there to start. I've cried a lot in the last week, and I don't think you'd be human if you didn't, in some of the situations I've been in. So, Leslie, thank you for that introduction, and that set a pace. Chris Svensson put that video together, which I had never seen until just now, and that was amazing. Spinney, you are a genius, and I can't thank you enough, and no one can honor me more than that video. I mean, that's... to have Jack Whitaker's voice on that, I mean, as soon as I heard it, I knew it was Jack. And now I'm kicking myself. I wanted to invite him to be here tonight, but then I thought it's too hard for him to get up here from Philadelphia. He's 95 years old. And anytime I'm in Philly or Baltimore or somewhere within 50 miles of Philly, I've seen him every year at least a couple of times. And I love that man. He attended our wedding. And man, what a memory that's seared into my head forever. To have Jack, who's one of the last of the generation of voices that inspired me to want to be a broadcaster. And you saw others that were up there, men like Jim McKay and Pat Summerall. And, you know, the last time you gathered, I didn't attend last year, Dick Enberg and Keith Jackson passed away. These were the voices of my youth, and there are many others. Chris Schenkel, who I've shared many a times with. Try to make them proud. That's been the goal of my life, and you know, really, that's something that's been a little bit of a constant theme. My whole life, really, I was driven to try to make my parents proud, and that continues to this day. So, you know, a lot of people will sometimes they'll say, "Oh, that guy Nantz, he's so syrupy. There he goes again, going off on one of his tangents." You know, and I used to kind of semi-apologize for it, but then I realized that's who I am. I'm sorry. You know, we're all wired differently. It's in my DNA, and I got it from my mom, so it's her fault. If you have a problem with it, come see her. For her to be here tonight, she fell at the Final Four in San Antonio on like April the 3rd this year. Broke her C2 vertebrae in her neck, broke her neck. And I kept trying to think of things to try to get her motivated, looking forward, looking ahead. And then this beautiful gift from Ken Agard, the phone call from Ken and Sean came along, and this was it. I mean, this was the thing, Mom, you got to be in New York. So bless you for being the greatest mom of all time, being here tonight. We had a seminar today, a golf seminar, at Studio 43 in New York. There was a little glimpse of that, with Brent actually introducing me on the air the first time, September 14th, 1981. And I mean, I darn near passed out when that moment actually arrived. But I had been super cool up to that point, felt very comfortable with all that was being asked of me. And anyway, there I was today, just serendipity. I was back in the same studio. And it brought back all these flashbacks. When I went into audition, I got this call from Ed Gorin, who's here tonight. I've got my originals at the table up here today. Eddie was the producer of our college football show, long before he became the superstar president of Fox Sports. And I came to New York to audition, and when it was my turn to go out there, one of five, I was the fifth. I got up on the set. It was the NFL Today set I'd watched as a kid with Brent and Irv, Jimmy the Greek, and Phyllis George, and behind the chair they asked me to sit on, it said Brent. You know, I didn't think I was going to win this thing. I was the youngest by like 10 years. I was 26 years old. I was from a small market, mid-sized market, Salt Lake. And, you know, it was kind of nice to round out the field. But I wanted that chair. I wanted to take that chair home, be able to show to people. I got to sit in Brent Musburger's chair for like 20 minutes. And Ted Shaker was the one who really made the call on that, along with Peter Lund and one of our honorees tonight, Neil Pilson. And Ted, thank you. You took a big risk. You and Eddie and all the aforementioned have given a kid that really was pretty unsophisticated. Still is, but thank you. And Mike Francesa was part of that audition, and he was the third segment of three where I had to interview someone about college football. He walked out. 10 seconds later, we're taping an interview, and that began a wonderful friendship. Years later, He became, of course, this iconic radio superstar in New York, but he really held my hand. They all did. My original team. Mike is going to be walking in this door. He's going to be really upset that I'm up first because he was on the air till 6:30 tonight. But I know his wife, Ro, is here. But Mike, Teddy, and Eddie, thank you for taking a kid who, when I came in for the last audition, right across the street where Mastro's is, where we're going tonight, thank you, Sean, it was called U.S. Steakhouse. Not everybody, by the way, not all of you, okay? I could hear Sean thinking, oh boy, how am I going to get that check through expense reports? But I sat down with Peter Lund and Teddy, and one of them ordered swordfish, and I was 26. I was a meat and potato kid. And I said, that sounds interesting. What's swordfish? I didn't realize at the time that they actually went back and had like serious discussions. Can we hire this guy? He didn't know what the hell swordfish is. How can we put this guy on the air? Eli Spielman was our writer on the show. An incredible friendship, brotherhood out of that. We wrote a book together that was really about my dad and my family's struggle with our patriarch battling Alzheimer's. And it was cathartic to write it. It became a New York Times bestseller. We never imagined it was going to have that kind of success, and it led us to really my life's mission, Courtney's life's mission, that is to find a treatment and ultimately a cure for Alzheimer's. There's nothing in my life more important than that. Outside of my, and I got to tell you, our Alzheimer's Center, which was started from scratch, this year hosted the World Symposium of Alzheimer's Researchers. 200 scientists worldwide, including a Nobel Prize winner the previous year, was hosted in Vienna. So the Nantz National Alzheimer's Center, named for my dad, is doing great things, cutting edge. If I can help anybody in this industry, you know how to find me. If you got a loved one, I'm here to help. And you know, trial drugs, they're out there, and I really feel confident the next 5 years are going to be prolific. The One Hall of Fame, this means the world to me, that one day I want to be in, is I want to be a part of a group of thousands of people around the world, though, who dedicated their life to trying to make a difference for that insidious disease. So, you know, thank you to my original team. Thank you so much. Barry Frank is over here, Hall of Famer. Sandy Montag's somewhere in the room. But Barry was really my first agent. Showed up at my house in a stretch limo to try to cajole me to come to IMG. And I was impressed by the fact they had a stretch limo. Little did I know they got an upgrade that day. But a great mentor, and introduced me to my future wife. So I'm paying him 10% plus these days, and it is well worth it, because my wife, who worked with Barry and Sandy at IMG, is a remarkable woman, and she's right here. Courtney, thank you for being such a love. Thank you. My kids are watching. They're streaming this out in California, so you think I'd figure out how to look for a tally light somewhere, but I just want to say to them from afar that I got two little ones who, they're not quite sure what Daddy's doing. Caroline, my oldest, does, and she's a hero to me for many reasons. But my little ones, they think everybody's daddy's on TV, so they're not quite sure what this is all about. But I want to be a Hall of Fame dad. That's all I hope they look at me at one day, is not some guy that's on TV who's been given the golden ticket to go to all these great sporting events. I love being their dad. Melissa Miller's watching this on streaming, and everyone who knows me knows how valuable a part of my life she has been for 20 years in everything I do. I couldn't be doing anything that I do these days on CBS or otherwise without her incredible effort and her skill. And my wingman is in the back. Tommy Spencer is sitting with Davey Finch, who's a Hall of Famer, as part of our 18th tower on CBS Golf. Tommy's with me on football, too. Makes me look smarter and better every single week, and I'm indebted to you guys. My announced brethren, I've got two of my golf guys who are here, stuck around. Gary McCord and Peter Costas are right over here, and we've been together for like 30-some-odd years. traveling around doing that. I love these guys. I love like all of this part of our lives, and everyone in this business knows it. It's not just the show, it's the hang. It's the part that surrounds the event. I got great people to hang out with. And then I got my production team and family that all came out here tonight. Lance Barrow, I've done more events with Lance. I mean, it's a remarkably close friendship. Through golf, he's the second Frank Chirkinian. Frank was in the inaugural class when Bob and I got to be the co-host that night. And Frank was here. He was alive, and he handed the baton to Lance. Lance, football for so many years, golf ongoing. Steve Milton, our director on golf. Wolfie, I mean, you're unbelievably good at what you do. Mark Wolf, Bob Fishman, thank you so much for your stewardship. I lean on everything you say. And you stayed around. You came up from Florida for this night. Pretty darn good. Mike Arnold and Jim Rickoff, they're going to do the Super Bowl this year. And they're just great guys. And they're a great credit to this industry. And Sean, I know I've mentioned you a couple times, but I have no idea where you're sitting, so I'm just like scanning the room here frantically. Could you just kind of give me a wave, because I want to make eye contact. Thank you for being a friend and a leader. I feel so privileged that I got to share my career with you. You know, your dad was a guy I used to write letters to as a kid, and he wrote me back. Little did I know one day I would have the blessing of having that beautiful grace that's in your family and be able to work with you, someone that represents his own life, but all of us in our industry with such class and distinction. So thank you, Sean, for your belief in me. And David, Ken Agard's over there, Harold. I can't thank you all enough. I'm going to just close it here with what you brought up, and that is President Bush. There are a million stories, but one thing that I kind of thought about being in New York this weekend, it would have been somewhere in the mid-'90s. He was coming into New York for an event at the River Club. And he said, Jimmy, if you're around, come on in, hang out with me. So, of course, I would do anything to be able to have some time with him. And I joined him, and we walked in together. And as we walked in, there was Lionel Hampton, who was a legendary jazz musician and was a friend of the president and had performed many times at the White House for the president during that time. This is mid-'90s, he's out of office. But Mr. Hampton was in a wheelchair, and the president got down on one knee and communicated with him eye to eye, like I did every time I was around him. And I got to, Peter Costa says they called me Velcro in the family because I was attached to his backside often, riding his coattails. And I traveled me, for whatever reason, to a lot of places around the world, ambassadorial visits around the world. But I always watched the nuance of a great man, one of the great Americans this country's ever produced. So I asked him on this occasion, I said, that was really remarkable what you did there. He said, Jimmy, let me tell you something. Everybody is created equal. And that man, he's a good man. He doesn't deserve to be spending the rest of his life looking up at everybody when he's communicating. It's a hard thing for him. He said, don't ever forget that. Of course, the irony is his president ended up spending the last 10 years of his life in a wheelchair. But I thought about that often, and I'm thinking about it right now. What am I doing on this stage? You guys are looking up at me. I'm really uncomfortable with that. I don't know how I got in the Hall of Fame. But to my fellow inductees, what a class. Mary Carrillo, my gosh, you helped me so much through the years, tennis. Dickie Vitale, your passion. I'm getting off here. I want to get down and look at you guys at eye level. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless this industry. Thank you.